So today,
We're reviewing
Gladiator 2.
so we are way behind in this review. We had the YouTube short where we gave our pre-movie review, Dad and I, and that was like 3 weeks ago. But finally, Jake got around to seeing it, so we are here to do the official review. And why don't we just start out with our initial thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, my initial thoughts on the movie was it was definitely an entertaining movie. Outside of some really bad theater going moments that we can talk about maybe after the review, the movie itself was definitely entertaining at times. It was well acted for the most part. The setting and cinematography I thought was done pretty well the majority of the movie, and there was definitely some stuff to enjoy about it. But I don't think it reached I know it definitely did not reach the first one. But it was definitely still a fun time at times.
What were your
Yeah,
initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts was it was good. I enjoyed it. I've had the luxury of seeing it twice, and I thought it was better the second time. Now, again, it didn't surpass Gladiator, the original, because that's a classic. But I definitely think this is a good movie and very entertaining.
Yeah, so I similarly had bad theater experience during this movie, and so that did have a little effect. But overall, this movie, I thought I was not blown away by this movie. It definitely doesn't reach the original. The original is one I wanted to review before, is an all-time classic, perfect movie, perfect cast. And this movie it had some fun elements to it, some good action, but it just definitely didn't live up to the first one. But Jay, do you want to go into your positives?
Yeah, I would say my positives for this one would have to be some of the action. There was the opening scene with the ships raiding a different country. It was really cool. It was cool to see that, just the whole warfare of the base on the beach versus the incoming boats. That was done really well.
That was a great scene.
One of the standouts of the movie I thought was Pedro Pascal. His character was really cool, and I would have liked to have seen more from him in the movie. But when he was on screen, I thought it was done really well. And there was definitely I liked the ideas. Whether or not it was executed right, I liked the ideas of what they did in the battle arena. I know it's a spoiler or not. You saw in the trailer, there's like a man on a rhino. The use of water inside the arena. Is it, what's it called?
Coliseum.
Coliseum. So there was definitely some cool ideas about it, and I did like the callbacks to the first one. There was a lot of cool moments there with characters from the past that show up in this one, and I really did enjoy the very beginning. There was I'm not sure what you would call it, but during the opening title cards and stuff, they were showing some moments from the first Gladiator, and they did it in like a painting type way, and I thought that was really cool.
That was cool.
You know, the positives, I mean, I'm very intrigued by the history of Rome. I see it as a reflection of our own here. They were a power for 500 years, and so there's a lot of different movies that you could make from their history, and within the Gladiator aspect, I'm sure there's a lot more they could make with that. But I thought positives-wise, again, it didn't reach the first one, but it was very, with the way movies are nowadays, I just thought it was above average, very good. And like I said, after seeing it the second time, I liked it even more. So it's just an entertaining, good movie that I think did a good job of following up a classic in the first.
Yeah, positives, I agree with Jake. Pedro Pascal, I thought was the best character in the movie. The main lead, he did okay, but I've got to say, I think it would have been better off, honestly, if Pedro Pascal would have been the main character, because he's in it for so little, and I still think he was the most standout character. The action, that beginning action scene is great. I'm really glad they didn't montage over that. So it was a really cool scene, battle scene, and I think that was probably the best scene in the movie. I liked elements of what they did in the battle arena, and the different animals they fight, and different creatures and different like warfare. But I'd say positives, I really like the intro, and I think that's about the positives. So why don't we move to the negatives?
Yeah, negatives for me are just I think some of the execution of the battle sequences, for some reason, I don't know what it is. I was trying to think about what the details were about it, but something about the first one and what they did with the action seemed more realistic. And unfortunately, some of these movies, they're really cool ideas, but the use of CGI, when it becomes too apparent, does take me out of certain scenes. It could have been more impactful, because the battle sequences in the first one just seemed so real and had more impact. This one, for some reason, it just didn't reach the level of the battles in the Colosseum that the first one did. So there's just something missing there. The end of the movie is a little bit choppy, and there could have been, there was certain things done. I know this is a non-spoiler, but the Pedro Pascal character, I'll just say, he was really underutilized and could have done a lot more. There's a moment when the main lead has to do a speech in the middle of the Colosseum after someone dies. But I would have much rather had Pedro Pascal's character give that speech, especially from his perspective, being the top general of Rome. Because I think the people respected him and would have listened to what he said. And there's just something about, usually don't get on the acting. The main lead did fine, but Pedro Pascal had a lot more charisma than the main lead did, and you saw that on screen. So, and again, that's not a slight to the main character. He did fine, but the main character in a movie like this, you're comparing it to.
You're critiquing the movie.
What's his name from the first one?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Like, you're comparing that performance to this one. It's just night and day as far as that goes. And when that's like that, that character needs to come through.
Negatives.
No, I mean, no real negatives. I think
no negatives.
Not
in the movie.
real negatives. I mean, obviously, again, I think what's happening is that everyone relates and compares this to the first movie immediately. So you got to wonder to yourself, if this movie were to come out by itself, how would you then grade this movie? So I think it's a good movie. I think in follow-up movies, that's really tough to do, especially to an epic classic like that. So I think it actually went above my expectations. And again, especially after the second viewing. After the first one, I had Gladiator 1 in my mind. So that's why I thought it was good, but I was questioning it. Like they said, that the acting's hard to beat Russell Crowe. Joaquin Phoenix was awesome. The only negative I would say is I think they didn't film certain things after the first one was over that maybe could have been used in the second one to make it look a little more authentic. It was fine, not a big deal, but it was not the same actor when they were doing certain flashbacks. I forgot to say before, as a positive on top of this negative, I love the opening scene too. I wish there was more of that. Negative wise, I'm just, again, I'm not gonna go there.
Dad never has negatives.
No, I do. And again, the only negative really is outside the movie, which again they said is another topic because there's some movie etiquette that got lost that may have hurt it for people that were seeing it for the first time that night.
Yeah, so my main negative is when, you compare it with the first movie, and I wouldn't be doing that if the movie wasn't called Gladiator 2. This movie literally is making itself a sequel to a movie that, in my opinion, is a complete, from start to finish, a whole story. It includes Russell Crowe, who his family is murdered. It's a revenge story. The movie ends, he dies, that's it. That's the movie. So you call this movie Gladiator 2. So I needed this movie to prove to me why we needed a sequel. And in my opinion, they did a lot of similar stuff. And in my opinion, like the main character, when you make it such a similar storyline to the first one, then you need to make sure like this is a better story if you're literally doing such a similar thing. The villains were a little over the top. I mean, like they're just so crazy, and not that there wasn't crazy people throughout history.
There was. I
just think there's just a certain point where I'm not really taking these villains seriously at all because they just seem like they are no threat. And this movie just ended up being very forgettable for me, and especially comparing to the first one, it's just an all-time classic. And I didn't see that we needed a sequel originally to this movie. I just didn't see the need for it, and this movie really didn't prove it to me. So yeah, I'm not trying to be like a downer if people like the movie, but this movie just did not satisfy me at all. There's some things to enjoy. I like some of the battle scenes, but yeah, that's my overall thoughts on Gladiator. But this is my no BS review.
Overall, though, I had a fun time with it. There was definitely some things to enjoy. Like you said, if this movie was made without the first one before it, I feel like I would probably have enjoyed it more.
The idea would have been made, though.
Right. So I think overall, I had a fun time with it. The movie-going experience was very rough with people going in and out of their seats. I'd say for my score for this one, I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10. I was going between that and a 7.5. Maybe after a second viewing, it would go up to a 7.5 because seeing movies for multiple times does make you, sometimes you enjoy it more and sometimes it goes the other way. This one, I think I would enjoy it more the next time I saw it. I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10 for now, but could definitely work its way up to a 7.5, no doubt. for Gladiator
work
2.
its way. I'm like it can work its
I mean,
way.
again, the scores can change over time.
It can really try hard in the next couple.
I mean, there's movies I enjoy a lot more.
Its
second
strength
time.
of schedule can be looked at.
Jurassic
And,
World.
what's your
Long
final
Kingdom.
score?
Strength and honor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 7.5. Again, I liked it. I think
So it
it's
can work
good.
its way up.
No, I think it would work its way up to an 8 for me, but 7.5. And you know, Gladiator itself, whether we review that or not, I would give that a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, we're gonna review it.
So other than that, that's my score, and I did enjoy it. Again, with the movie etiquette, that's for another day. But people should, you know, be better with, you know, what they're doing at the movies, so that everyone turning your phone off is one thing, but the other stuff gets a little crazy. So other than that, I would just throw in there too. I thought the movie did a good job with the Colosseum itself. They always said that was like the heartbeat of Rome, and honestly, these movies that we're talking about, a lot of that is filmed inside of the Colosseum, and I think the Colosseum itself is a neat thing.
I'm probably gonna get some eyes for my score here, but according to the new system of score that we figured out, I'm gonna give this an average score, which is 5 out of 10, which is literally the average score. In back in the day, I would have given this a 7 according to the average score. But if the average score is 5, then that's average, right? Is that how it works? And this movie I thought was average. I mean, there's a good action scene in the beginning, but this is a sequel to Gladiator, and I was surprised how little callbacks they made to Russell Crowe's character. It's really like he never existed really, because they barely bring him up and they barely have any kind of callbacks to him. And they did some different stuff in the Colosseum fights, but I don't know. This movie just, as far as, I mean, if I'm gonna give the Gladiator a 10 out of 10, this has to be lower than that. I mean, it has to be a lot lower than that.
6. You gotta give it
But
at least a 6.
yeah, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. I really was just, this movie's very forgettable to me, and just as far as the score goes, that's just what I give it. Maybe if I saw it again, I might like it a little more. I thought this movie was really long too. It was a very long movie,
Actually,
and it drug for parts. This is our review of Gladiator 2.
Yep, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Barry gave it a 7.5 out of 10, and Kenny gave it a 5 out of 10.
Which, according to Jake's rating, he always wants me to follow. This is the average score.
And I think it's way above average. Like, I mean, the average movies. I'm not getting into that debate, but I think it's way above average.
Way above average is what?
So I say 7.
Yeah. So mine's average. I thought it was an average movie. It's not above average, because then I would like it.
And I respect the fact that you have that right to say that. I effing love it. Mom, what's your score?
Anyway, Mom, we'll have her sit here.
Okay. 7 out of 10.
7.
We'll have her.
Okay, guys, that was our non-spoiler review of Gladiator 2. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this movie, and do you think there could potentially be a Gladiator 3? Anyways, we'll see you guys
I don't
next.
know about that.
I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.